Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. And today I am joined by my friend Lucy Jane from Cosmic Order. Hi, Lucy.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us today. So Lucy and I met at AFC last summer
Yeah,
before?
was it June last year?
June last year. And we had a good time sitting in the corner and analyzing everything. I'm going to phrase it like that. And and we've stayed in contact since. And I'm really grateful that she has agreed to come on and have a chat with us. So, Lucy, start off by telling us all a little bit about what you do.
Oh wow. How long have we got? So predominantly at the moment, I do one-to-one sit-ins. I run Cosmic Order Limited, which is a supply of crystals and holistic supplies. So we ship international and all through the UK, which is fab. And yeah, I'm an evidential medium.
Excellent. So, those of you that keep wanting someone to do one-on-one readings, Lucy is doing one-on-one evidential mediumship readings as well as selling crystals. So I will put a link to her website in the show notes so you can check it out. So Lucy, I always start with the same question because it works. How did you get into this crazy world of mediumship?
Oh, that's a lot. Well, do you know, coming on here, you've opened a huge can of worms because I've never really gone back to basics. So I've had some conversations with my family and it's opened up so many amazing memories that I kind of forgot about. So I have always, as far as I can remember, spoken to, seen, sensed everything around spirit. It's just been a huge part of my life. I'm not gonna lie, I was a traumatized child, waking up in the night and like, mom, there's men in my room, there's people wanting to contact me. And she didn't think I was mad because my mum would be an amazing medium. She is just terrified. So she loves it. So she kind of just pretended it wasn't happening, if that makes sense. And I overheard a conversation with my granddad, and we're like, we need to get some help. It's got out of hand now. So I was like, oh, thanks for that. I love it. A massive game changer for me was when I was 11 years old and my nan became really, really ill. And she was in an induced coma in hospital. And that one evening, me and my mum were sat in the front room and we both looked, and there we just saw my nan. And we kind of had this connection with each other, and then we looked and we saw her just stood there, and I said, Mom, can you see Nan? And she's like, yeah. I was like, she's passed. And then the phone rang, which was the hospital, to say, you need to come.
Wow.
She's passed. And we kind of remembered that the other day. I mean, such a massive thing that you forget about, but there's been so many instances with spirit that it's normal. It's not a wow moment, it's just normal to me. And so then obviously we went to the hospital and she's passed. And that was my game changer, because I didn't just see random people trying to scare me. My nan was there. And it's like, she still is. I wake up every morning and say good morning. Do you know, that's kind of how involved she is in my life still.
I love it.
And then my granddad passed, and then I had this team. Everyone mentions spirit team, don't they?
Yeah.
Mine, it's like my family. So they've always stayed with me. I probably communicate with them more now than I ever did, really. But it's interesting because my girls can hear the conversations between us.
Wow.
So they're so involved in my life that it's like they're still here. So I was shouting at my daughter who was on the stairs, like, be quiet, blah, blah, blah. And my nan's going, just leave her alone, she's my little baby. And then my daughter was saying, who's that lady? What was she saying? So they're all involved in kind of what's going on at home. And I really include them in my life. They're like, do I need to ask you now? Are you lying to me? Don't make me check. Like, that's kind of how we work in the house. And there's been so many. So for me, it's not something I got into.
It was
was
always
just
there.
normal. Now, I think it's completely different being connected to spirit and your loved ones and mediumship with the public. It's a completely different kettle of fish. It's awful, like, having that difference, because I've not had to learn how to communicate with spirit. I've had to learn how to communicate with the public.
Interesting. Tell us more
And
about this.
it's terrifying. Well, it was.
Yeah.
Not so much now, but it was terrifying. So for me, my first experience where I engaged with a spirit that wasn't part of my family, I think I was 13, and I was at a funeral with my mum and one of her friends, and someone had died around them. And I remember coming out of the toilets and they're in there, and I said, he says he's all right, you know, and he's read your letter, and it came out of my mouth. I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And they looked at me and were just like, don't be so stupid. And I was like, oh, not everyone kind of likes me speaking like that, or not everyone gets it. So then I was like, very much I won't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like I'd been told off as a child. I felt like I'd upset them when they were grieving, whilst Spirit had asked me to pass that on.
Mm-hmm.
But we kind of know now with our boundaries that we don't always have to do what they want us to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my first experience with working with someone else. And then so many different, there's hundreds of experiences, like being in a pub and hearing children laughing in the cubicle next to me, and I'm going, are you all right? And I'm, yeah, and these giggles, and I come out and it was actually Spirit. And I'm like, oh God.
Oh my God, amazing. So first thing, oh my goodness, I've forgotten all my questions because I've got so involved in your story. So no, I love it. So when you are communicating with somebody else's loved ones in the spirit world, do you receive it the same as your loved ones in the spirit world? Is it just the delivery that you've had to learn, or is it a different energetic experience for you?
I think it's, oh gosh, it's harder. It is harder because you're not on the same frequency as everybody. I don't feel we can be so blended and be on that same frequency as everybody. And it's like with someone who's physically here, you don't want them that close to you.
Yeah.
So you push back a little bit and you don't have that full blend. Whereas my family, come on, get in, let's have a big hug. So you don't have as strong of a blend because you naturally got your barrier up to push back because it's not quite comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where you learn. When you allow that blend and it comes so nice and it flows and you're not even there and it's just pouring out of you, that's because you're comfortable. So I think it all is what you're comfortable with allowing close to you, and it's your boundaries and it's your space. So some people you can't get because it's a natural, I feel it's a natural barrier to protect yourself.
Interesting.
I don't know if you've experienced that.
So, well, there's so many theories that rolling around in my head. Now, do you mean when you're saying people you can't get because of boundaries, do you mean like people because they're not your kind of person, because they're different personalities, because they've made bad decisions in life? Like, what do you know what causes that barrier for you? Or is it just sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't?
It's always interesting because say you've got a sitter and I've brought forward 5 members of the family, and there's that one that they really wanted, and I'm like, I can see him, I know he's there, but it's mute. Like I physically can describe him to you because I can see him, but he's not coming forward to blend with me for whatever reason. And if they don't want to communicate with you, you can't force it.
Absolutely. I always think that's got something to do with the sitter being ready to hear from them.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of mediums do that kind of, you've got to wait 6 months after somebody passes thing for the spirit to be ready. And we all know that. I mean, look, your nan visited you as she passed. My nan came through on a Ouija board the day she died. Like, I think they are fine. But I think that sometimes they don't communicate because it will damage the sitter, their healing journey or something like that. So yeah. I get that. I've had that before where they're there. I don't see them. I wish I bloody did. But they're there. But it's just like, yeah, you can't get onto the right channel. It's like trying to tune the radio into a station. It just won't reach. So interesting. So going right back to the beginning, who do you think it was visiting when you were a kid? Because the spirit world, in my mind, wouldn't want to scare you. So talk to me about that first before we move on down other holes.
That's fine. And a lot of my animals, I could see my animals. I had a lot of animal energy, which didn't scare me. Now, we lived in a really, really old building, and there was a lot of energy there. There was tons of energy. And I'm so super sensitive to energy that I don't know if you've had this, but when they come in like a bull in a china shop, it can shake.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I was a kid and I'd feel my bed shaking, and I know that that's people coming in and checking on you, but just because I'd not had anyone close to me past that I recognise doesn't mean my great grandparents aren't there. It doesn't, and I just didn't recognise these people because
Mm-hmm.
I've got such a small family, but I've got a massive family that passed that I wasn't aware of. So we're never going to be on our own. We're never not going to have loved ones. I just didn't recognize them as a little girl. Like, I just didn't. So now that I'm a bit more clued up and can understand the situation, there'd be absolutely nothing to be scared of.
Yeah.
I didn't know these people. And I can vividly remember this guy's face when I was little. And like, it had all like blue, shiny lights around it. And he was like in my face as I opened my eyes. I'm like, it was just terrifying. It was like one of the memories. And I know it'd just be someone popping in to see how I am and having a look at me, because I know that my nan did that with my girls, because they'd wake up and go, can you ask her to leave because she's staring at us? And she'd like feel like she was fluffing the pillows and things like that. And they were super aware of it as little girls. But because of what I do and my connection with spirit, I was able to like, come on, don't wake them up, sleep. And I always say to my mum, if you'd have done that for me.
It's so interesting, isn't it? And
yeah.
so on your, because I know that we met in development, we had some really interesting conversations about development, because you probably, you may not even remember, but you really changed my perception of being completely envious of your connection and being able to see spirit and just wishing, because you know, I obviously believe, I completely believe, but what it wouldn't give for me to be able to see it, because seeing is believing, isn't it? We're in a physical and human environment. And I remember you messaging me once and saying, yeah, but this is why you're a good teacher, because you've had to learn, and because you've had to learn, you can teach. And it really changed it for me. It really helped me, because up until that point, I was just like, if they're here, why can't I see them? Why can other people see them and I can't? So from your perspective, from a development point of view, have you been able to develop it, your connection, and change it? Or has it not needed it? Has it just been learning to communicate what you're seeing to sitters? What's that been like?
So when I met you in June, that was the first form of professional development that I've ever taken. So, and even whilst I was there and still now, spirit will go, just listen to us. Stop it. They don't particularly want me. They don't believe that another human can teach me what they can. And I'm fully aware of that. Completely aware of that. I don't go to AFC, I don't go anywhere to learn how to connect with spirit, because I believe they will teach. They've got me this far.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're going to be all right. But there's certain practices you need to learn when working with the public, and how to. So I've had to learn how to deliver one-to-ones in a professional setting, and there's all the red tape that you need to learn, and it is a business, and you have to be mindful, and you can't just approach people with you can't let it all out there. You need to be aware of what you're saying and responsible of what you're saying, and that is what you need to learn. And there's techniques and things like that as well. So for me, learning was about how to run a business, not connect with spirit.
Yeah, I love that. And delivery style and things like that. There's so many mechanics of mediumship that, I mean, for you, the connection's already there. The mechanics help me learn to connect, but then there's all the other stuff. There's so many plates to spin in mediumship, for sure. So obviously you've given us some great examples of spirit with you. Have you got any stories that stand out in your mind when you've been doing a reading for somebody, or a moment where spirit have blown your mind?
Oh gosh. And I keep getting this memory coming, actually, so I'm obviously need to share this. And now it's bringing us back to boundaries. I remember being sat in the opera house. I was watching a show with the kids and my family, and I get this lady come, and she's like, I'm Sheila, that's my husband sat in front of you, and they're my two girls, will you just tell him that I said hello? I'm like, no. And I'm looking at this guy, and he's got hearing aids in. He's really old. He's with his family. He's like, tell him I died of breast cancer. He'll know it's me. I'm here. And I'm like, I'm with my family. This is not appropriate. Like, you've got to stop this. And then I went home that night, and I was like, I need to tweak my boundaries, because I can't be having that when I'm out. Work's work, and home life is home life to me, apart from obviously with my spirit family. So I was like, oh, that needs to stop, because I don't want to be working all the time. I need to be human.
Yeah, for sure.
But she was like, and she's like tapping me on the do you know when you know what they're doing?
Yeah.
That sounds crazy. She's like, please just tell him. And I'm like, no, I can't do that. And yeah, there's been so many, and readings, wow factors, okay. Whew. I know that a lot of my clients are going to be listening to this, so I'm trying to not overshare where people can be identified. But they always try and bring a sense of humor, I feel, with spirit. So there's a lady whose husband had passed, and not only did he want me to kind of describe how he passed, which, you know, is kind of generic for a reading anyway, but it's like, and, you know, tell her I should have worn some pajamas because I didn't want to be naked when they found me, and things like that. And there's all so much like bringing some humor and light-hearted fun to it as well, because she's like, oh, and there's so many that I just can't even think of.
I've seen your reviews, so I know how much you blow people's minds, and I absolutely love it. And that again is a really interesting thing, because I don't really get disturbed by spirit. And I don't know if that's just because I'm really moody, and they know, I mean, people always say to me, don't they wake you up when you're asleep? And I'm like, no, because it doesn't take an infinite intelligence to understand that I like my 8 hours. And if I don't get my 8 hours solid sleep, I am a snarky bitch. So I don't get woken up by the spirit world. I don't get disturbed. I've had twice where they have come in, and I don't shake, but what I felt like was like the world had tipped on its axis. It just felt like it was just a completely, I can't even explain it. It was like everything moved. I felt like I was in Inception, and that has happened twice in 13 years. So not like you, they obviously can't know that I can't see them. I'm just going around blissfully unaware unless I've set my intention, and I'm like, la la la. I love it. Well, I mean, it is, but equally it's just so interesting, isn't it? I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
I love Sheila tapping.
That's really good though, because you're getting your rest.
Yeah,
I've had to learn to put those boundaries in place, and I don't want to see other people when I'm at home. The only spirits that are allowed in my, well, I hope they're my boundaries, is my loved ones. And I still don't want to walk in a room and see them, because even then I'll go, oh! Like, I'm like, come on, don't do that.
Wow. I mean, it's always grass is greener syndrome, isn't it? You always want what you haven't got. Because I get that, because I'm really jumpy anyway. I watched way too many horror movies as an adult, if I'm honest. And now I would absolutely brick it, but I would also love that validation. I keep going like, knock for me, and waiting, and no one knocks, and you just like, so
sorry.
No, go for it. I love it.
When you said I've read your reviews and the wow moments and things like that, when we look at someone's reviews, and there's probably like 100 or something reviews on there, when we've done thousands of one-to-ones, not everyone is going to get those wow moments. And I really need to, and because when you look at me, you go, well, why didn't I get that? Okay. And it's not because you've had a bad reading. It's not because you're not going to, the medium is not going to bring that information to you. We don't want to go to work and not give you what you want. It's just because you don't need them. You need to listen to what's being said and not focus so much on that. The wow moments will come when you stop being arms crossed, thinking, oh, I don't want to give anything away. That they're nightmare clients, because you're actually blocking yourself. It's not the medium's fault, it's your fault. And I want to put that out there, because it's so annoying.
I agree. I've done a whole podcast dedicated to being a good sitter for that exact reason, because I think people don't understand that their energy is a valuable part of the process. It is a three-way connection, not a two-way connection, and your sitters have such an important part to that. And I've had that at DEMS. You know, if I've got to be honest and say, if you're going to sit in my audience and I come to you and I give you 8 bits of evidence and you've got your arms folded and you're going meh, 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 and then I say, you don't seem like you know, this is working for you, and you go, well, tell me their name and then I'll tell you if you're right or not, then, you know, I'm not going to stay working with you. End of. Like, you know, I've got better things to do. I've got clients that are willing and open to receiving the information. So it is a massive part of it. And it's not about feeding the medium. And it's not about, as well, accepting a reading where it could be anybody, where you've got a grandma who bakes.
Yeah.
And you know, but it is about finding that balance of being open to what they bring. Definitely.
It's so ridiculous. Imagine I had a lady and I'd give her tons and tons of evidence, like so much evidence, even like dates and things like that, and it still wasn't enough. And she said, can you not tell me his name? I went, yeah, it's called George, does that help you? She went, oh, yeah, that's his. And she took that one piece, a name that she already knew. So how am I impacting your life, or how is spirit impacting your life by telling you a name that you already knew? My mind was blown. I'm like, they've given you so much that you need to take away, but what you've done is gone, they said a name. Like, it's useless.
It's such, and this is the thing as well, like there's so much more to my nan than Patricia birthday in March. There was, you know, if you're going to bring my nan in, I want to remember the memories of her. I want to discuss the fact that she was a complete pain in the ass for the final 10 years of her life and made everybody miserable. I want to, you know what I mean? I want to know that she sees me and sees what I'm doing and is part of that. That's what I want to know. I know her birthday. I know how she died. So again, you're right. It's different. What do you want from it? What's the importance of it for you? And it's so interesting. So where do we go now? So I know that you have got all these lovely clients, all these reviews. What do you think people need to look out for when they are looking for a medium? What do you think makes good mediumship?
Good mediumship. See, I don't necessarily think you should go to the person that's telling you they're a good medium. Okay. Someone that thinks they have it all together, someone who's like, you must listen to me and my way of working because this is going to get you what you need. I think you should not steer away from that, but always go for a personal recommendation, which I think is fantastic. And look at someone and go, look at the reviews, but also look at how they word things, how they behave on a daily basis, what they post, what they're trying to get across. Are they trying to help you, or do they just want to take your money?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think every reading should come with a healing aspect. I think that should be the foundation to every reading.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's trying to work through. For me personally, I'm not interested about telling you. I don't do fortune telling. I want to look at that little bit of trauma inside you and try and help you get rid of that so that we can move forward and remove what's blocking you from getting to where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's what my readings are kind of all about. Yes, this is the beautiful evidential, your loved ones are giving me the information for you to move forward, and you need to trust that it's kind of coming from them. So I don't know, have a think about what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want a show? Do you want a bit of comedy? Do you want to heal? There's someone for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know. I try not to be judgmental.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of crap out there, so I don't worry about being judgmental. As anyone who listens to this podcast knows, I'm often having rages about different mediums and different practices. And same for my interviews. I won't interview people that I don't believe are working ethically, because I'm not going to provide a platform for them to steal from people. So
do you not do posts going, if you're seeing me on this sponsored post, this is a sign? Like, come on. And they're the ones you probably need to stay away from.
Yeah, and affirm yes. if anything says a firm yes, just unfollow that medium, for the love of God. It's so boring. But then I also think there's a real influx, certainly on TikTok, which I spend more time than I should on, of mediums who are bad-mouthing other mediums, but actually aren't doing any work themselves. They've built a whole career out of kind of, I'm an evidential medium, that medium's not good, but not even doing any of the work themselves. So there's so many different aspects. And the social media game, which I know you and I were talking about before I hit record, and it's just something that doesn't float your boat at all, does it? So yeah, I know it's such an interesting thing. I did do a stupid post about, I can't remember what it was now, that, turnip of luck, because I was so fed up with seeing this is the horseshoe of luck, this is the fairy of luck, click, like and share to receive your luck. And I was just like, oh, come on, people. But again, I think those people are probably the people who are looking for something. I think sometimes people come for readings, they're looking for something, but they don't really know what it is they're looking for.
Yeah.
And they're hoping that you're going to fix something in them that they can only fix for themselves. And whether you're going for an evidential reading or an oracle card reading or a Reiki session, you still need to understand your part to play in it. But that's just me. I've gone off on one.
I know. So. It's really easy to get on the. I try and not allow myself to be drawn into getting annoyed with other people, with what other people are doing. I try and stay in my lane and know, well, I have the best intentions. Forget what everyone else is doing and just literally. And I never used to. I was a right pain in the ass. I'm like, have you seen the state of that? And I wanted to save the world and put everything right. And you learn quite quickly that you just need to be a good person, and that'll trickle out, and we don't have to try and fix and save the world, because do you know what, it's tiring.
Yeah, for sure. And the world doesn't want to be saved.
Nope.
So talk to us about crystals. What's your favorite crystal?
Oh, do you know,
I bet it changes.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It's citrine, but for me, because I was so super sensitive to energy, and I've like had crystals since I was a child, for me, I could really feel the energy like that they have, and I knew there was so much more to them than being aesthetically pleasing. So when you buy crystals from me, you're not just getting sold something. I want you to use it. I want you to harness that energy. I want you to allow them to do what they're meant to do. Okay, so I'm just so passionate about them, and I really think they can change the energy of a whole house. I really do. I kind of light up. I'm a medium, right? But I don't light up when I talk about mediumship, because that's just something I knew I always had to do.
Yeah, funny, isn't it?
Yeah, so I've accepted that. I'm a medium. I like it. Some days it's good, some days it's bad. But crystals are my passion. Like, I really love them. When I see them, I kind of just feel that energy. Yeah, super passionate about them. And I'm an intuitive crystal therapist, so everything is spirit led and so tuned in with myself that people that come into my little shop, I say shop, it's like my space. I can tune into them and know where they're going. And I do this I know which one they're going to pick. And I kind of, if they want help, I'll give it to them. I don't force my opinion on people at all. But I definitely tune into each client and see what it is they actually need.
Amazing. So why citrine?
It is just, well, for one, it attracts abundance.
Yeah.
It's connected to the solar plexus. It's the joy, the happiness. It helps with people with, I don't have anxiety, but it's so good for getting in there and helping just bring that calm. Do you know that gut wrenching feeling that you can get quite often? It's just so good to sit with it and bring that stillness to the solar plexus as well. And also pop it in your wealth corner, because it's going to keep the money rolling in.
Yeah, I've got mine sitting there getting dusty. Come on, citrine. Come on. So what about, would you have a crystal that you'd recommend for spiritual development?
I always use kyanite, and it is not people's go-to. And the reason why, most of the time when I do a one-to-one, I've got a big chunk in my bra, because it helps with the communication. So amethyst is going to help you get that connection. I can't have it anywhere near me, because I'm like, my head just wants to explode. So amethyst is going to help you get that connection. And I think when people start out at groups and things like that, they always have a piece of amethyst in their hand when they're trying to link in. And for me, it's kyanite, and not because to get the link, to help with the flow, the communication.
Amazing.
So that's what I always use.
So going back, because I just thought of a question while you were talking about flow. Have you ever had anyone come in that's just said no to everything, or anything like that? You have?
I've had the most horrific experience. This woman came to me, and I did the reading. She's like, no, no, no. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. I'm literally, I am not going to twist what this person's saying to fit you. So we did the reading, and she's like, well, that was shit, but you've got a nice shop. I said, I've also got a nice door. There you go. And then about 6 months later, I got that, I'm really sorry, I could take everything, it made sense. We are going to trigger people. We're going to make them have to explore areas that they didn't want to go to. And we all, and whilst I'm understanding that it's painful and you're going to have these trigger moments and bring up some trauma, I'm not going to be told I'm shit.
No, isn't that interesting? You see, I've had stuff like that, but because I don't see spirit, I've had to do a lot of soul searching on my journey, because I've been like, well, maybe I am. Maybe I did just make all of that up. I have, and so it's taken me probably, I reckon, 13 years to get to a point where I'm like, no, this is what I'm getting. So probably to get where you were when you were 13, but never mind, but it's such an interesting, and people are so she knew who it was, because I had someone say no to everything, and then they left a message to me the next day and everything could be taken. And it's such a painful energy to sit in, isn't it? Because they just get more and more stuck in their nose.
Yeah, I kind of, in those, and that was quite early on with working with the public, so I really had to dig deep, and you just want to cry.
Yeah.
Especially because I do a lot of face-to-face as well, and that's how I started. It's like you've got this person that really wants something, and I'll always go back and go, what does she want? What do they want?
Yeah.
And I've had a few where it's like, I can't take any of it. And then someone stopped me out shopping with my kids, and when I came to see you, and I was going, no, 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 and I want to apologize because I can understand all of it. And I'm like, that's fine, I'm shopping. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So it's we have to trust, we have to have this faith that what we're delivering is going to resonate on some level. They might not want to share that with us and give us the feedback that we want. It's not about us. We have to completely, not only when we're working, push ourselves away, we have to become so disconnected with the sitter that their opinion on us doesn't matter, I believe.
Agreed.
Because,
and often, I mean, it was a big thing for me when I started DEMing, because you'd get spirits and no one would take them, and I'd be like, look, I know they're here for somebody. And it's taken me a while just to accept that sometimes people have a process. And 98% of the time someone messages me the next day and says, I'm really sorry, that was my mum, I just couldn't put my hand up, I just couldn't, because they're going through especially in DEMS as well, I think, because you feel very exposed. And it's such an interesting minefield. So just to finish, Lucy, what would you give as a tip for a medium that's starting their development journey?
Oh, like complete beginner, no link, no nothing. Right. Ooh, I would say, and it's interesting because I've never had to be in that position.
No,
so I'm
you bugger.
Yeah, okay. Don't run before you can walk. Okay? It's not a race, and I think you really need to enjoy the process. You are going to get the wow moments. You're also going to get the what the hell am I doing moments. I need to just reassess my life. But you need to stop thinking that you're just going to have this physical being in front of you that's talking to you and you pass on that message. You need to understand energy. And I think before you want to get out the gates and start communicating with people, you need to understand your own energy.
Yes, for sure.
You need to kind of what's you, what's them. You need to know the difference. And people forget about energy. They just think spirit, people, but actually it's the foundation for it all. that makes sense.
Absolutely, completely agree. Couldn't nod anymore. Loved it. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us all today. And listeners, I'm sure you're going to want to check out Lucy's readings and everything like that. So like I said, there'll be a link in the show notes. And thank you very, very much.
Oh, thanks for having me.